Hello, everyone, and welcome to another MTE preview on the Sports Daily Media Network YouTube. Tonight, we're going to go over the Baha Hoops Championship, which gets started on November 21st down in the Bahamas. I'm your host, Sean Vowells, and I'm joined by Mike Koomar. Mike, your team is a part of this MTE, and luckily enough, we were able to get Joe on for the Michigan MTE, and we've got you on for your
Yeah.
Baylor MTE. So Baylor is in the first game. So why don't you tell us what Baylor has done so far before the ball tips down in the Caribbean?
Following a 38-point thrashing at the hands of Gonzaga, the Baylor Bears have been resilient. They've got a young team. They've also got a team that doesn't have a lot of experience playing with each other. So that was a pretty rough first game of the season in Spokane in front of 12,000 angry Gonzaga fans that have had a lot of disdain for Baylor over the last few years. But following that, the Bears had a really resilient win against Arkansas where they really controlled the game and then kind of got into some easier games this past week, scoring 100 points and wins over Sam Houston State and Tarleton State. So Baylor's got a couple of easier games going into this matchup, and they're going to take on St. John's. St. John's, we talked about earlier in our episode, Sean. This is a team that definitely hasn't hit its ceiling yet, and they've definitely have a lack of depth, but they've got a lot of really good guard play, which is going to create a really, really fun, exciting matchup against Baylor's young, inexperienced, but really good guards. So this is going to be a fun one, Sean. It's a great first game in this tournament.
It really is a good game. It'll be 7 o'clock Eastern on CBS Sports Network. Baylor has opened at 2.5-point favorites, so essentially really a 50-50 coin toss here. Mike, we've seen a lot of good and some bad from these two teams so far. So who do you think will win this one?
Sean, I'm going to go with Baylor in this one, to no surprise by anybody. But it seems like VJ Edgecombe is finally starting to get his feet under him to begin his college basketball season. He had a couple of really good games in their tune-up games this week, so they've looked really impressive. And I just don't think St. John's is there yet. I think they will get to being a really good team, but they're just not there yet. So I'm going to go with the Bears to win this one. Also, watch out for Norchad Omier, who's a double-double machine last year at Miami. He looks like he's finally starting to pick up some steam for Baylor. So I like the Bears to get the job done in this game.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go with St. John's. I do think it'll be a really good game. I wouldn't be surprised if either team won, but it's a great opportunity for Baylor to pick up big win number 2 of the season and for St. John's to pick up big win number 2 of their season. So 30 minutes after that one, Mike, will be the other semifinal. Now, there is just 4 teams in this tournament, so automatically in the semifinals. This one is going to go a little bit under the radar, I think. We've got Virginia, Tony Bennett-less Virginia, playing up against Rick Barnes in Tennessee. Both teams are undefeated coming into this one. Virginia has wins over Campbell, Coppin State, and Villanova. All pretty convincing victories in vintage Virginia defensive fashion, and Tennessee comes in at 4-0 with a big win on the road against Louisville and then 3 wins in bye games. So, Mike, we haven't really talked a whole lot about Virginia since the news before the season started, but they're going under the radar. If Tony Bennett was still their coach, they might be ranked. And now he's not, and they aren't. But Tennessee might have a little bit more of a challenge here than we may have thought a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, really rocky start this year for Virginia with Tony Bennett resigning just 5 days before the season. And I'm really disappointed personally for the players that committed to him being their coach, and all of a sudden they're without their head coach, which is incredibly disappointing, and I feel bad for those guys. But UVA's been impressive to start this year. Look, they got a win against Villanova. We don't really know how good of a win that is. I don't think it's that impressive of one. But then again, a 10-point win in a game that they never really trailed. So, and they were winning big for a large part of this game. It really didn't get all that close until maybe the end. But even with 2 minutes to go in this game, it was an 18-point lead for the Hoos. So that's a really impressive team, and they've been a lot better than we expected On the other side of that, Dalton Connectless, Tennessee. He's killing it in the league, but Zakai Ziegler is still killing it for the Tennessee Volunteers. They were ridiculously good against Louisville on the road to start this season. So we'll see what happens. Other than that, we really haven't seen Tennessee be tested much either. But I think this is going to be a really good matchup. I like Tennessee in this game still, just because I don't know that much about UVA, but I think it's going to be another really good game. This is a really good slept-on preseason tournament.
Yeah, and it has gotten a lot better over the years. At Providence, Kansas State, LSU last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But yeah, you've got 3 really good teams in here, and then one team that is supposed to be good, usually a good program at least. I do think Tennessee will win this game, Mike, but I think Virginia can guard enough to hang around. And maybe you make a couple shots down the stretch, you might steal this one. I think it'll be one where Tennessee is up to 6-8 for a majority of the game, and perhaps a late surge might steal this one for Virginia, but likely it'll be a 8 to 10 point victory for Tennessee, where you never thought they were going to lose, but you never thought the game was over. But I do think Tennessee will move on in this one. But Tennessee is 4th in defense, so you think Tennessee's better at the things that Virginia are good at, so usually that's not how you win. But I think Tennessee wins this one, and we're split on the first game consistently on Tennessee here. But Mike, who is winning your championship game?
This is going to be a good one. Look, one thing that provides a huge matchup issue potentially for Baylor, with Tennessee being able to score the ball as well as they are. Will Baylor stick with their zone? Will they go back to a man-to-man, which they struggled mightily against? What I would expect, Sean, is that Baylor's going to come out in a 1-3-1 zone and play zone to try and stop Tennessee. But that's going to be tough because they've got some really good shooters on this team, to include Zakai Ziegler, who's had a really good start to this year. So I'm going to go with the Bears in this one, because I just believe that this is going to be a great game for them to really come together and develop as a team. I think they've got some of the best individual talent in college basketball. They just haven't been able to show it that well yet this year, and I think this is going to be a big game for them to do that.
So I do have Tennessee winning my championship game against St. John's. I think Tennessee is better at the things that St. John's is good at. But I do think Baylor matches up better against Tennessee than St. John's. So if Baylor wins the first one, I think they'll win it all. But since I don't think they will, I've got to go with Tennessee. Like we talked about in other videos at this point, St. John's doesn't have a lot of depth. You're playing 2 times in 2 days, short prep, short rest.
Yeah.
I do think Tennessee's sort of physical style of defense might be too much with little preparation. But it should be a pretty good tournament, Mike. It's there's a couple other MTEs this weekend. This starts Thursday, tomorrow as we're recording. And I think that's a good idea because while they do have really good teams in this tournament, if it's next week, it could get lost in the shuffle with Atlantis and Maui and the Players Era tournament in Vegas. But the fact that it's the week before, it's really competing against Charleston, which has a couple of good teams. We'll get to a video later on. But I'm definitely going to be watching all 4 of these games. Third place game, championship game, and then the 2 semifinals. But it should be a good one.
Look, I think we've got at least 3 top 15 programs right now in college basketball. We've probably got 4 NCAA tournament teams here. So this is going to be a really fun tournament to watch. I'm excited to see it, Sean.
Yep, it should be a good one. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this MTE preview episode. Be sure to check out the other ones if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.